Hello, I'm Anna.
And I'm Lee.
And this is the YIMBY Denver Podcast.
Today we have another distinguished, fabulous guest, Alejandra Castañeda. With a professional background in public health and the social determinants of health, Alejandra could no longer ignore the harms of car-centric policies and practices. In 2022, she started volunteering as a bicultural, multilingual communicator and co-organizer with the Pedestrian Dignity project in the Denver metro area. Pedestrian Dignity is a grassroots artivism project that centers the lived experience of all who move on foot, on a wheelchair, and via transit in a time of increasing speed, climate devastation, social isolation, and car-centric practices. Naming land use and transportation inequities and sharing her civic engagement learnings with community members so they can organize and advocate for themselves has become part of Alejandra's active mission. Alejandra is also honored to be the current 2026 Denver Bicycle Mayor and considers coalition building an essential part of her activism. Enjoy the episode.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
I'm honored to be here.
Of course. So, Alejandra, I'm so happy today to meet you. You came very highly recommended by a lot of our people in YIMBY. They've been very excited to see what you've been doing and your involvement in the city of Denver. And so, your accent, where were you born?
Yeah, so I was born in Mexico, in a small island, Cozumel. I don't know if you've ever been in the Caribbean. Yes. And my mother was from Argentina, and my father was from a different part of Mexico.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. Interesting. Well, it's so funny because a lot of people who get involved in housing activism, we all have a different backstory, but many of us traveled to a different country and saw how much better urbanism can be, and then want that for their communities. And so I love that you're bringing your international background to the States.
Thank you. It's funny because in Mexico, actually, we are the first country oftentimes where a lot of the American ways are exported to. So having a car and sort of this car-centric development has influenced a lot of our communities as well.
Interesting.
Even though Mexico City is a metropolis.
I've heard really great things.
That's been on my list for such a long time. A long time to visit.
Yeah, I think our former president spent a lot of time in Mexico City. Had a great time.
Oh.
Yeah, of YIMBY.
Oh,
right.
okay.
Sorry. Oh my gosh, not that president. Or YIMBY Denver president, former.
Yes.
But so today we're going to talk about what makes a neighborhood inclusive. And so I know you, when we were talking before, you've lived in many different places, Mexico, Buenos Aires, later obviously here in the United States. Can you share what it was like growing up in Mexico and navigating public transit in Buenos Aires at such a young age? And how did that shape your understanding of mobility?
Yeah, for sure. So when I was living in Mexico, my mother was diagnosed with a terminal disease, which made it really hard for her to drive. But in the community that we lived, you needed to drive to get places, really. And if you didn't have a car, that meant that you were lower income, poor, sort of, it was a stigma in some ways. But my mother had 4 kids and she was pretty much raising on her own. And so it was difficult for her to drive because of her physical condition, but also because she couldn't be there, at the same time all the time. So I often walked from school to my house, and I sometimes would take the bus as well. And then we moved to Argentina, where my mother was from. And Buenos Aires is a city where public transportation is used by everyone, regardless of, income level. And my mother by then was even sicker, and we didn't have a car at all. So my little sister and I was 11, she was 9, and we would take the public bus, walk out of our apartment building and get on the bus and then walk a few blocks to school from the bus stop, and that really gave us a lot of independence and also a relief that we weren't a burden on our mother.
Of course. What are your thoughts about American children? Do they have the same opportunity? How could it impact them?
Yeah. So it depends on what that child is growing up, right? I have friends who moved from Chicago and had a similar experience that mine in Buenos Aires. However, here, if we're talking about Denver and other cities that have developed with a car-centric approach, I think that robs children from their independence.
Yes.
And also it puts a burden on caregivers, which is something we don't talk about as much. So it becomes a stressful sort of way of life, right? And this idea that we have to hurry, and get in the car, out of the car, and children are not able to exercise the independence that they are able to sort of use from very early age, but the environment isn't built for them to support that.
And also, what you were kind of like when you're talking about Buenos Aires, it kind of reminded me of how like good public transportation is kind of like an equalizer.
Yeah.
You know, like you were saying that people of all income brackets take public transportation in Buenos Aires. That reminded me of New York, where I'm from, where like you see like all sorts of life on the subway, and like that makes it, I guess, more comfortable for like anyone to take, because it's not like these kinds of people take it and these kinds of people don't. And then the people who really need to take it, you know, it's like easier, smoother, better funded, more accessible. And then it like connects you to job opportunities, it connects you to social opportunities. So there's like so much more besides like just having, you know.
And I think like what you're saying about the kids, like I never would have thought about the burden for a caregiver. I think all the time about like the perspective of a kid, because when they, as an 11-year-old, taking care of your 9-year-old, you're able to make those big decisions. Like, okay, maybe my bus was 2 minutes late. Like you're able to problem solve in very small ways. They say that when you give children those opportunities, they can problem solve better and be a lot less anxious. If you haven't heard, there's a book called The Anxious Generation, and it's like us raising anxious children. And a lot of it is this, like we have secluded them in these small places, aren't allowing them to go out, explore, because it's not accessible, it's not available to them. So, I mean, judgment to people who don't use transit. It's just, it's not always very reliable, available, or even, I mean, unfortunately, sometimes safe feeling.
Yeah.
So.
The other thing, because you were talking about the equalizer and income levels, which to me that means is an inclusive community, right? When you have that, that there are kids, young people who are currently taking public transportation in Denver, right? Because their parents, you know, have no choice, or the kids have no choice, or whatever else. And so we kind of forget that need exists and is being used, and that they also deserve quality public transportation that is that comes often, and you know, and I love what RTD has done to offer it for free.
That's a good point. Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And my kid also, like sometimes, you know, I might drive her to school, but then she takes two buses home, or halfway, or you know, and
something.
And it is a good learning experience for every kid.
Yeah. I'm hoping it could just continue to get better.
Yes.
Here.
I think it's interesting, like making it a part of your life, you know, because I feel like a lot of people, it's like if you have a car, you're only going to drive everywhere. And I think it's like interesting, this like mixed lifestyle, car light lifestyle. Like I think if more people approached it that way, that could be like a good way to reach like our climate goals and like solve so many problems without making people feel like you have to get rid of your car and take transit all the time.
What a good point. Okay, so if you guys are listening, maybe you can commit to just going on Saturdays to the grocery store, wherever it makes sense for you. It would be great if it was like an everyday thing, for sure. I know some people don't have like a bus that connects, but like there's got to be a way we can all get a little bit more
multimodal, right?
Multimodal.
Yeah. We often talk about the system being multimodal, but I think we can adopt that philosophy for ourselves.
People should be multimodal. I love that.
Yeah.
So you actually kind of mentioned this a minute ago when you said Mexico is the first to adopt like more American like ideals. And so you had said before as well when we chatted that when you moved to the United States, you noticed that cars and large homes were often treated as a status symbol. How did that contrast with your earlier experiences, and what did it reveal to you about land use and transportation?
I mean, when I first came to the United States, I was drawn into sort of that American dream as well, right? A large home, a new home that's built in the suburbs, that's, you know, sort of sprawling, replacing natural ecosystems. You know, you get a Yukon. I remember that, you know, I got married and the Yukon was like, wow, look at this SUV. And you know, I was like, also, wow, now I've arrived, right? And like these shopping centers with like lots of parking. And I was like, wow, this is the American lifestyle. And I was excited about, you know, being part of it.
So I have relatives in Germany, and my cousin visited me 2 years ago, and we went camping. Now, I got my camping spot very late, so I didn't get like a really good camping spot. So we happened to be surrounded by RVs. We were in a big tent anyway. But we pull up, he's like, this was everything I imagined it would be. Like he was so excited to look at these huge RVs of people just like camping. And I was like, this is not how we're supposed to do it. But okay.
Wait, this was your cousin?
This is my cousin. Yeah, because like he didn't, of course, wouldn't camp that way, but he saw like we're outside, but actually like with these huge vehicles.
He's like, I love
the
this.
rows. Oh yeah, he thought it was hilarious. So we're talking about like the status symbols of large homes and cars, and with your earlier experiences, like what did this like home and car lifestyle reveal about the American way of land use and transportation?
Yeah, I mean, it took me a while to sort of understand what I was getting from all of these, right? Like the revelations.
Yeah.
The revelations came in steps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it is cool and new and sparkly. You're like,
and it's
oh.
convenient and it's
and,
comfortable.
you know,
Yes.
yeah, and you know, I wasn't a rich person, and then so all of a sudden I felt like, okay, I'm like middle class now, you know, and I was married at the time, and literally picked the cabinets, like, you know, the smallest home, but still like suburbia, like
Right.
total suburbia. And then I moved downtown, and I had a little studio apartment that was, you know, from the 50s, and I was able to walk everywhere, and I was freed to do that. And also, you know, having a car is expensive.
Yes.
Oh,
The
goodness.
maintenance of the car, the insurance of the car, if you get in a crash, all of those things is stressful because it kind of lends itself to a life of always rushing. I'm going to make it there because I'm in a car, right?
Yeah.
So I only need 10 minutes, so I overschedule everything.
That's such a good point. I never thought about that.
Yeah, so I think it's extra stressful to live that life. And then I started working in sort of the space of public health at the Healthy Homes community, Healthy Homes project at the Alameda County Lead Poisoning Prevention Program.
Yes.
And then that's sort of where I started, you know, everything started clicking.
What did you learn about the connection between housing, health, and infrastructure during that time?
It was eye-opening, truly, and it was also eye-opening about the conditions in the United States and who bears the brunt of these decisions. So this is in Oakland, California, Alameda County Lead Poisoning Prevention Program. They were piloting a program, now it's called the Healthy Homes Department. And I would go to homes of children who had been to the emergency room because of too many asthma attacks. And oftentimes, these children lived in apartments right next to freeways and other very car-centric spaces next to roads that were, you know, full of cars. And, you know, before the lead was made illegal or prohibited from gas, a lot of these buildings were built. So they still had lead in the paint and other things. So I started connecting that, learned about how freeways were built, where they were built, you know, through communities of color, low-income communities. And also many of these properties were public housing, so they had other triggers like, you know, infestation and other things. So that's where it really started opening, you know, my eyes. And then I moved to Colorado, to Denver, and I was a health, a nutrition coordinator for a Head Start program right here on Federal Boulevard.
Heard of the Head Start program.
Yeah, and then also, you know, started making the connection. And what was interesting too was that many of these families, even though they were lower income, they might arrive in like a large SUV. And that also, and you know, these were families who had not a lot of money, but the cars gave them also, you know, a sense of, you know, having arrived, having access, and all of these different things.
I wonder how much money we waste on cars, quite frankly,
I mean,
in
housing
America.
and then cars, like those are the two biggest parts of families' expenses all across the country. So it's like being able to cut down on that. Like for me, I don't have a car in Denver, and like that's allowed me so much flexibility with like being able to prioritize like going to school, or like I just moved to a new apartment, so then I can like go move to a new apartment on my own because I don't have like these additional expenses like hanging over my head. So.
It's hard to change though, because like think about, and you may not have this experience, but growing up in America, like we're all kind of stuck at our house. We're stuck relying on a child care provider to bring us somewhere else until we turn 16. getting your driver's
the
license.
Big 16.
The big 16.
I remember
yes,
that. Not
it's
even 16, 15.
15,
the
yeah.
permit.
Just
Well,
getting.
I'm going through that right now
with your own kid. It's a big deal. Like, as much I told you a 9-year-old, and she was just saying yesterday she cannot wait to drive. And I'm like, oh my
That's a
God.
huge kid thing.
What have I done? I failed, right? Like like I want her to, the point is that we've created a society where we need a car. We celebrate that car. That car is now like a road into independence, a road into growing up, right? And so I wonder what we can do to change it. And I think it's like little steps like this, what you're doing with Pedestrian Dignity, this realization that we all, I hope, go through of realizing like environmental injustices and housing injustices are often done side by side. And it's so sad to me. Like, I know this, what you said, but hearing it again is always just like, right, just like impacts you. These are little kids who just happen to be living in a space next to, right, just the wrong space.
And the thing that kind of breaks my heart is we've known these things for decades.
Yes.
Right? And I mean, when I was working in Oakland, it was 2006, 2005. So how many is 20 years, right? Yeah. And then I just read a news story. This is in my district, District 1, where there's an old motel right at I-70 and Federal Boulevard.
There's a what?
An old motel.
Oh,
that was a temporary shelter for unhoused women during the pandemic and all of that. And now it's going to be redeveloped into housing for low-income families. So right in front of I-70 and Federal Boulevard, two harmful, car-centric spaces. But why are we choosing that spot?
Yeah.
Why do you think we're choosing that spot?
Cheaper.
I'm wondering if you have an idea.
Cheaper to buy that land.
Cheaper to buy that land, and who do you think people are going to say come out and
exactly.
say no, don't put it there?
The zoning probably is already a pretty liberal zoning. It's not a single family zoned home neighborhood. I have lots.
It's an easy. It's a low hanging political. Fruit, right? So we put it right here in the corner where you won't bother all these other property owners, right? And then we can pat ourselves on the back and say, well, we're providing housing.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And so that's what breaks my heart.
Yes. So what zoning, so that's actually really where YIMBY Denver lives, is this, like, as we talked about in our last episode, this nerdy housing policy of zoning, which is a compliment, as we've said before. But in your opinion, how can zoning policy shape the outcomes we are looking for, like in putting affordable housing projects like this outside of these environmental areas? What do you think could be done?
I think we first need to adopt individually a sense that everybody's welcome in our communities. Okay, so we're talking about inclusive neighborhoods. What do we think those should look like?
Yes.
An inclusive neighborhood is a neighborhood where I want your kid to have the same opportunities and healthy environments as my own kid, right? Your parents as my parents, my friends, everybody is welcome. If as an immigrant, I often hear that, we're a sanctuary city, Denver is a sanctuary city. And we welcome immigrants, but as soon as the housing issue comes up, well, maybe not that way, right? We'll support you with food or, temporary shelter, but not with abundant housing in our communities. And so I think that's the first step, opening up our communities.
Opening up, what you even
your
said,
heart,
though, your heart, like, you have to really believe it. And I think, what I've seen, and disagree both of you with if I'm wrong with this, but I do sometimes think people who are saying no to homes in their neighborhood, I actually do think they may not know what they're saying no to. That they have convinced themselves new homes equals bad environment, new homes equals more traffic, new homes, yes, deep down it's like a fear of change, a fear of new people coming in. But sometimes I'm wondering, is this we just need to do a better job educating people of when we are saying no to a better land use, what is the deep impact here? And I think hearing your story about these children live suffering from so much asthma attacks that they're in the ER because their home is next to an interstate that was purposely built through a black and brown neighborhood, right? Like these are like.
I mean, we have that right now in Gloveville and Swansea. I mean, it's happening here already. So we open our hearts and we say yes to your kids and my kids and your parents and my parents. I have many friends. I don't have parents anymore, you know, they both passed away, but I have many friends who are older and who have lived in my community, and all of a sudden their needs change and they cannot find a place, you know, that adapts to their needs in the community. So they have to move away to places where they even have to drive even more. And as you age, so it's not just about kids, it's about older people. It's about, at any moment, our needs can change, right? And so having a variety of homes and options within the community so people can stay there, connected to their communities, and we can welcome anyone from wherever is coming. And also supporting the environment, right? Like we know that car center neighborhoods and communities are damaging to the environment.
And damaging to your like community, damaging to your like own soul, your ability psyche. Your psyche, your ability to connect with other people. And so if any of our YIMBY listeners might have somebody who is like on the fence, has been one of those people that showed up and said no to a new home, I really hope you're able to send them Alejandra's like story, just what you said before, how land use decisions don't just impact the house next door, right? It impacts the health of the community. It impacts the education of the community, because like when we are just saying no to a home, we're also saying no to people living near me and sharing this. Because again, typically the like quote unquote nicer neighborhoods are the ones that have more power. They have much stricter zoning laws. It's harder to get things built in those homes. And if they ever do, it's all hell breaks loose. And so, as you just said, that's why often our political electeds go for the lower hanging fruit and putting homes in the wrong spot.
And it doesn't build real community.
Yeah.
Because like what you were saying, like having different options, it allows people to age in place, and it allows you to like really put down roots, whether you own or not. And I feel like that's something that doesn't really get talked about. Because like for me, I just moved out from like a roommate situation in Wash Park to a 1-bed in Wash Park, and I felt like super grateful to like find like a decent 1-bed in the area.
Where you already were establishing roots.
Exactly. So like now I'm like getting more involved with the neighborhood association with my RNO, and like I have friends in the neighborhood, and like it's like a different feeling when you're like, oh, okay, like I moved, but I got to stay, as opposed to like having to go to a whole different neighborhood and kind of like start from scratch, even if it's still in the same city.
Exactly.
You know, like being able to like age in place and like have those different needs like addressed, like makes the entire community stronger.
I'm happy for you that you were able to find that 1-bedroom
Thank
in
you.
the same area, right down the block.
Right down the block.
Right.
I was like, oh my goodness, this is so cool.
I'm so glad you brought up the inclusive neighborhood idea. What else, in your opinion, is important to make a neighborhood inclusive?
Yeah, I think beyond sort of having different choices for housing, making sure that everybody has access to healthy environments, also a community that offers lots of different ways to move that are dignified, that are affordable, that are reliable. And so that's why I brought my favorite button today, which says the bus is for all of us. So an inclusive neighborhood is one where transit is rich, is dignified, you know, bus stops have shelters and benches if you need to sit, bathrooms nearby, public bathrooms, and just in a healthy environment. Oftentimes bus stops are just like right next to fast-moving traffic.
And it's like so uncomfortable and scary.
Yes, I know. I've heard you talk about this at a meeting where I first saw you.
Yeah.
I guess we didn't meet. Yeah, tell us that story. I want to hear your story.
I love that. Thanks for that segue.
Yes.
So Alejandra and I first met sort of in December at the West Washington Park Neighborhood Association meeting about the Alameda Avenue situation, which we talked about at length on this podcast, where we're trying to get the city to do the right thing and, you know, implement the road diet and make it more dignified and comfortable for transit takers like me. Like, again, I don't have a car, so I take transit everywhere I go, including up to school at CU Boulder, graduating in 8 weeks, thank goodness.
Yay!
Gosh, I know.
But
so
still,
close.
it's like, it's not dignified to have cars flying by you at 40 miles per hour, and like people on Alameda Avenue have gotten like clipped. You know, like their shoulders and hands have been like hit by cars going super fast because there's no buffer, there's no protection, there's no shelter or anything like that. Like, I think there's one shelter on Downing Street, but that's about it. Otherwise, you're standing in direct sunlight and cars are flying by you. And if you stand too close, then you're going to get hit. Like, it's not even, the mirrors come out onto the sidewalk because the road is that thin. So I love everything you're saying, because I'm like, yes, it would be really nice to feel like the city that I live in respects the different ways that I want to get around, or even respect the ways that I choose to get around and how I want my neighborhood to look. So I'm excited to get more involved and like see if we can make that happen.
So I love how you're using the word dignified transportation. So dignity here would be safe, clean, and
accessible, reliable, realizing that I'm also taking the bus or light rail or whatever to get to school, to work. We often talk about commuters as if they only moved by car. And that is not the case. Lots of people I meet, I take the bus myself. As an advocate, I've spoken to people who rely on the bus consistently. I actually lived car-free for 3.5 years until recently.
And you have a kid.
I have a kid now. Yeah.
So it's not like it's just you living car-free. It's like you, because having a kid is a whole other ballpark of like, you need to get them to school and to whatever they need to be after school. I mean, it is much more tricky, or not even tricky, but you have to be thoughtful about like making sure you have time for all of those other things. So I love that.
And I realize, in some ways I'm privileged because I work from home, and my kids' middle school was, half a block away.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes.
And that's what we're talking about, an inclusive neighborhood, right? Where you have a high quality education in school set like right within walking distance, right? And that is also then creating a community for you and your kid, because now all of her classmates hopefully live close by. She's able to go to their house pretty easily. I love that. Where was this?
This is in the Berkeley neighborhood in Northwest Denver.
Do you still live there, right?
Yes. That's where I plan to stay.
Oh, good.
But it was hard. It was hard when I was looking for a home, so I was separating, and I wanted to stay near, my co-parent. And that was hard, and I thought the prices were so out of reach, and actually, I don't own the home on my own. I had, my sister, owns part of it, and so also these other ways of sort of like co-ownership and like family support or friend support, like co-owning a space with, your loved ones.
Yes.
Yes.
I hope
That's
to
on
see.
the rise these
It
days.
is. It is. Co-buying.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we see like co-ownership type housing model more available. So it's not just that you can buy one home with two friends, but like just naturally buy a share in a home. That's just like available. It's not like legal yet. People are working on it.
And we had some challenges because I wanted to get a loan, but I didn't have cash, so I wanted to get a loan for my part, but it couldn't be done like separately.
Yes,
and so there are also some legal.
There's a lot of legal things, and like tenants in common or a TIC isn't like the same thing either, because when one person sells, the other person has to. There's a lot of things that make that tricky, and there's a lot of laws prohibiting, not necessarily what you were just saying, but I do hope that that's actually one way to make neighborhoods more inclusive, is more co-ownership in our homes.
Well, that's not a digression, because there are so many like structural things that prevent people from like living affordably and sustainably.
Yeah,
right.
It's like there's so many things that we never even think about, whether it's zoning or whether it's like laws or whether it's the loan. Like there's always something that prevents you from doing what you really want to do.
Yeah.
So it's
and
like
it's policy. Often.
And when you start digging into it, you learn so much.
And
I mean, oh my God, I've gone through every day a new study, a new research, history about how we got here,
How do you manage that? I feel like it must be like really, I don't want to say depressing, but like it must be difficult to like face the reality of like, okay, this place looks like this because, XYZ.
Well, sometimes, it's another burden, right? So we talk about mental burden, and oftentimes it falls on women and caregivers, mothers, however you define the term. But I feel like it's so important. And all of this, I don't know, we're doing it as a volunteers, right? Like we're not getting paid for this. At least I'm not. And so I have my paid job.
We also aren't getting paid.
But we're really passionate because we are learning, continue to learn that these are things that affect our well-being and the well-being of our communities, and we care.
Yes, absolutely.
We care, and so we're
yeah.
here, and so I manage it the best I can.
You manage it by taking action, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, thank you. That's awesome.
And I know our listeners share that. They're listening because they care, right?
Yeah.
And we try to give people ways to take action.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, hopefully that's why people.
I have lots of ideas.
Great.
Yeah, good.
Let's tell us, what are some ways people can get involved? So if it helps, so I'd also love to hear more about your 2026 election into the bike mayor community.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to hear about that too.
It's not an election.
Well, fair enough. Appointment. So, the bike lobby doesn't like a. How does that work, actually?
I'm not sure.
It's a secret process.
Well, you know, I mean, the bike lobby is kind of like a grassroots group of people who are really passionate about, you know, safe infrastructure for people who want to bike for transportation. Yes. And I also think, you know, the way I approach it, because, you know, I was a pedestrian dignity sort of advocate or fan initially, that these two things are very much connected. I don't know if you've noticed, but when you look around in Denver and you see protected bike lanes, oftentimes you also see people moving on wheelchairs and other devices, using the bike lanes, scooters, you know, other things. So it's really advocacy for people-centered spaces, right? Instead of pushing, you know, people who walk, roll, take the bus to the margins, is, you know, giving them the space and the dignity that they deserve as well. So I think with that, I found a lot of people within the Denver Bicycle Lobby who had the same goals and aspirations and vision for Denver. And coalitions are huge. You know, you mentioned that in my intro bio, but I think the more of us who can find things in common, the more powerful we can be against this huge, enormous, sort of sometimes it feels impossible
against the
challenge.
Yes. and like you said, I mean, housing and transit is so intertwined. I mean, we had Amy Kinreich recently, very involved in the DBL, Denver Bike Lobby.
She's a former mayor as well.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Not elected, somehow.
So I think, you know, like in every group, sort of a natural sort of leadership group develops, right? And then, you know, it gets presented to everybody else, and unless somebody says, no, I hate that person, don't name them, then, and it really is whatever you want to make it. Like, is you know, you get a cute little thing. I should have brought it. I should have brought my name tag as well.
With the bike lobby?
It says the mayor. Bike mayor.
I love that.
I mean, lots of people before me have been great mayors and representatives, and, you know, kind of taken on their own, do with it what they think is, you know.
June Churchill was last year's, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, I mean, we would love for you guys to be involved, our listeners, with YIMBY Denver, but of course, our friends at the Denver Bike Lobby are equally as amazing people who are doing great things as well. And I am so delighted to hear that you were working with the Unlocking Housing Choices Committee. I'd love to hear what's going on there, what it feels like. If there's any way we can get involved with that. I know we're trying to kind of rally our membership around why this is so important.
And should we briefly talk about what it is in case anybody hasn't heard of it?
Yeah. So first, sorry, lots of questions all at once, but if you can first tell us what this Unlocking Housing Choices Committee and the goals of this committee are? Yeah.
So the project itself is was started by Community Planning and Development. As someone who speaks English as a second language, and I feel like also acronyms make spaces less inclusive.
Yes.
And since we're talking about inclusivity,
absolutely,
I like to spell out acronyms as much as possible. You know, we all fall into the, you know, it's just quicker.
The lingo.
The lingo. But so Community Planning and Development is initiated this process last year, and it's about unlocking options within neighborhoods by updating the zoning code and maybe some other local sort of regulations to allow for homes, for more homes that are even 2 to 9 units, right? So duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes, up to 9. Although now the effort seems to have been divided into 2 phases, the first phase and the second phase, and the first phase is looking to to up to 4 units, right? So, and so as part of the committee, so different people could apply to be part of the committee. I applied to be part of the committee. I had an interview, and I'm not a professional urban planner or anything.
Yeah.
I'm just a passionate,
Of course.
community advocate who believes in inclusive communities and healthy communities. And so I was delighted that they chose me.
Yeah.
And I always try to bring sort of the real stories. We talk a lot about zoning and regulations and all these different, technicalities, but at the end of the day, it affects people.
Yeah.
Right.
And people's ability to thrive. Yes.
Yeah.
Right, that's great. I mean, if we got that done in most parts of Denver, that would be a huge impact.
That would
So
change,
to learn more about it, I would suggest people, go to a few different sources. So that there's the city website, just Google Unlocking Housing Choices, Community Planning and Development. There's also SWEEP.
Yes.
The folks at SWEEP, which is the Southwest Energy Efficiency Project.
Oh, good.
Thank you for oh my gosh.
I never knew what
I
that
actually
meant.
didn't know what sweet meant either. No, I had heard, but I had forgotten it. I'm so impressed you
I
had
love
that in your mind, ready
And
to just share.
Yeah, they have a project called, or like a specific sort of area that's called Housing Forward.
Yeah.
And then, and so they're looking at it too, and then they offer what they think would be a strong first phase for
Yes.
this project.
Yeah.
And I'm sure YIMBY is also advocating and
Yes.
partnering to do that. Looking at Lakewood and what's happening in Lakewood.
Yes.
I know you had.
That's why it's been
yeah.
very important for us. So I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you. So
Yes.
even if things are happening outside of Denver, like our electeds are looking, people are looking like, oh, okay, it is possible. Let's make sure we are able to do something similar here, like it's possible.
Yeah, and I think we need to remember that the Denver metro area, the housing issue is a regional
Exactly.
issue.
Yeah.
Just because
I love that.
because you don't live here doesn't mean you don't travel through and or work here or send your
Or that
children
you used to live here and then you moved
had
over
to
to Lakewood
move.
because you couldn't afford to live
Yeah.
here. Like my co-parent lives in Whitridge, which is Jeffco,
Yeah.
Jefferson County. Where are our kids going to live
Yes.
if they want to? Our great grandparents, whatever. We can't just draw arbitrary lines and say okay.
Now I
housing
don't-
stops here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or-
We're all connected.
Exactly.
Like Denver has, amazing mobility and people are getting around all these different ways. But then in Jefferson County, everybody drives. Like it's the same air.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Exactly.
Yes.
We do need to work together.
Yes. Yes.
What has that been like working on that committee?
I'm learning a lot. I believe in being open to learning and listening to other perspectives. There's a lot of people some people have concerns about displacement, which
Yeah.
is something that always comes up when we talk about housing and allowing more types of homes within a community. And those are things that we need to pay attention to,
Yeah.
obviously. Nobody wants anyone to lose their home,
No.
to be forced out of their communities. So I love it, and also sometimes it's frustrating.
Yeah, it's a slow process, right?
Yes,
And
yes,
so,
yeah.
and actually, I'm curious. So I've heard people bemoan these processes sometimes. I think it is very valuable, of course, to bring in community members and give their opinions on these projects. Ultimately, we know, however, what an inclusive neighborhood should include.
Yeah, political.
Sorry, I put political,
No,
yeah.
I feel like here is very much about politics, right? Let's say that we engage the community and give everybody, a chance to speak and talk about these things, which can be valuable, right? Like we don't want to,
Of course.
disenfranchise
But it's often
anyone.
vilified almost. And a good example is the Alameda Project where,
Oh my
right?
goodness.
It's why are we even doing this? Right? And so it
Makes people, it's counterintuitive. You get everybody up there to speak, and then if you're going to do the same thing anyway and not incorporate their opinion at all, then it doesn't really do anything, obviously, and then it erodes the trust.
But then also say, well, there's another group of 300 people who's actually said the opposite. But we're going to listen to that group, right? It's almost, sometimes I wonder if it's muddled. I don't know. I don't have answers. I've seen it happen before where community processes either one, aren't listened to, two, slow a process down, or three, really muddle down the ultimate goal, right? The goal was here. We know that this is going to increase housing affordability, make a neighborhood more inclusive, reduce environmental issues. but then we don't do it. So it's
and then it becomes like about something else in the end.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, like, anytime we do have an elected who really steps up, like, we need to do, I think, a better job of like celebrating them, quite frankly.
Yeah, supporting the people who are
doing
willing,
it,
who have the courage to really stand up to this. I feel like a lot of the processes empower the people who already have more power.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And
Yes.
then I love
That's exactly right.
There's
said that
another
better than I
action
did.
item. It could just be not actionable, but go learn about targeted universalism. And it's an approach that looks at, okay, so we set these universal goals. Maybe our universal goal is everybody has a home that they can afford that's healthy, right, in the community that they want to live. And then the targets are the tactics of how we get there.
Yeah.
So let's say you already have a home that you can afford and it's healthy for you and it meets your needs, and you too, but maybe I don't.
Right.
So how do we help this person that doesn't have a home? And what are those policies?
And also, why should we do that, right?
Because our universal goal is that
Exactly.
everybody should have a home.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that also just makes the community a more vibrant, welcoming place, right? We don't want just me to succeed.
Yeah.
That's a boring place to live, right? And ultimately would just, right, that's the whole idea behind YIMBY, not closing the door behind us when we walk through. So I've heard some action steps we can take is look at different organizations around the area, Denver Bike Lobby, obviously YIMBY, research unlocking housing choices, research universal, what did you say again?
Targeted universalism.
Targeted universalism.
Yeah.
What other ideas do you have for us?
Well,
go back into the targeted universalism.
No. The unlocking housing choices. They're going to be having community meetings, public community meetings, coming up here end of March. I think is the first one. So make sure you show up.
Yeah.
Show up is the number one step always for everything.
Yes.
Show up for what you support and speak up about it.
So I know if our listeners are interested in showing up to the Unlocking Housing Choices meetings, we will be putting that in our YIMBY Denver monthly newsletter every time that those meetings occur. So please make sure you're following that, showing up, supporting our electeds who are being brave, supporting our wonderful volunteers, our community advocates who don't get paid to do this and are still brave.
And another thing that we love, there's a couple of projects for bus rapid transit going on in Denver. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah,
yes.
and that goes together with
100%.
an inclusive community, with transit-rich communities. So also get involved with those. The Federal Boulevard Bus Rapid Transit Project, BRT, is ongoing right now, even though it seems that they've reached a final design that does not include dedicated lane, unfortunately, in Northwest Denver.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
It does not include a dedicated lane?
Not for the entire corridor, which one could argue that means it's not bus rapid transit. And then the other one is the Colorado Boulevard. Yeah, the Colorado Boulevard BRT. And that one is in earlier stages, so time to get involved with that and advocate for a dedicated lane.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was happening.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
So wait, when is that?
So it's ongoing right now. It's happening right now. There's stakeholder meetings for the Colorado, and this is from the Department of Transportation at the state level, so CDOT, Colorado Department of Transportation. So make sure you Google it and then find out when the next meetings are, when those are happening.
Thank you.
Email proactively, send an email to the project, team saying, I support, dedicated lanes, especially if you live within the area where this is happening. Unfortunately, the voices,
you're right.
Yeah.
Those voices are more powerful, which is what you're talking about with the targeted universalism. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
I'm really curious. I've never heard them.
Okay. Yeah, it's out of the University of California at Berkeley.
Oh, I'm excited to look that up.
Yeah.
But, I'm glad you brought up Colorado BRT because I've just been so focused, I guess, on Colfax. I love your idea, Lee, of supporting those businesses.
Yeah, support the businesses. Continue to support the businesses in Colfax to show people that, these transit projects aren't business killers. They're actually amazing for business in the long run. And we just have to work together to get through, the construction part of it. Like if you want things to change, you're going to have to build, you're going to have to be uncomfortable, you're going to have to compromise. Yeah. But that's part of coming together as the community, right? Yeah. Yes, it's ugly right now, but it's literally construction.
And it will be so beautiful. I love seeing those arches go up.
I know. It's
They're
going to
so
be great.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Alejandra, you've mentioned pedestrian dignity, and I have to admit I've been a little confused. Is it a movement? Is it an organization? And I know you're very much involved with this idea. So tell us more.
I like to talk about it as an ethos, right? Like something almost like it's not a religion because that has a bad connotation, but it's an ethos that you adopt, and you believe that people who walk, use a wheelchair, and transit, the bus specifically, deserve dignity. Deserve dignity from decision makers when they're planning, mobility systems, and also deserve safe spaces. They should not be pushed to the margins. Yeah, get involved, just adopt it, speak up about pedestrian dignity.
Absolutely. I am so glad to hear more about that, and also it's been around for so long. So we can transition now to something I like to call terrible trivia.
Oh, Lord.
Why is it terrible? Why is it terrible trivia? It's not because they are terrible. I'm terrible at coming up with questions, but I feel really confident about this round.
Well, she's not terrible at coming up with questions. They just tend to be a little bit difficult. That's the thing.
Or too easy. I never can gauge it. Are they silly, super easy?
I'm ready to fail.
Okay, well, this.
It'll humble you. You said you're always open to learning.
Yes, okay.
It's going to humble you for sure.
Okay,
oh, God. Okay. That's not the goal. The goal here is that we're just actually learning as a group, our listeners, us, about.
Perfect.
In this case, inclusive neighborhoods internationally. Ooh. It's our international version, so you might have a leg up over Lee. We'll see what happens. Okay. All right. Which European city is famous for having over 500 miles of protected bike lanes and making it its most walkable city in the world?
Amsterdam.
Boom. See? Already off to a great start.
I was going to say Copenhagen.
But it's very close too, though.
Yeah.
Which country do many cities have shared streets where pedestrians, bikes, and cars use the same space, but pedestrians usually have priority?
Spain.
No.
France.
No.
Denmark.
So close. Yes. Isn't Copenhagen?
Yes.
In Denmark? Yeah, no.
Yeah, but it's a country. You said a country.
I did say a country. What country? Think of Amsterdam.
So we're learning geography.
No.
Well.
Well, think of Amsterdam. No. I'm trying to get you guys there.
Oh, the Netherlands. The Netherlands.
There we go.
Oh,
the Netherlands.
Okay.
Which major city has the famous Shibuya crossing, one of the busiest pedestrian crossings in the world?
Denver. I'm kidding.
Okay.
What did you say the word? Shibuya?
Shibuya.
Tokyo.
Tokyo. Very good, Lee.
Okay. I was kidding.
I know. I was like, oh, Lee, what are you doing?
Did you come up with that question?
I was like, did I say it wrong? I questioned myself. I was like, is she thinking of the bridge over I-7 or I-25? No. Yes,
now.
Tokyo. I've always wanted to go, talk about an urbanist place, right?
Yeah.
What country is known for the concept of superblocks, meaning designing neighborhoods so cars stay on the outer streets and inner streets are prioritized for pedestrians and community space?
Spain.
Very good. Specifically, what city?
Barcelona.
Oh my God, you guys are so smart. I'm so impressed. True or false, the city of Copenhagen has more bicycles than cars?
True.
Very good. I have lost count.
That was easy.
I've lost count of who's winning. You know what? You're both tied. Icebreaker.
I like that.
We're all winners here.
Yes.
So I'm looking for a length here.
Mm-hmm.
Or
in meters or?
I have both written down in meters or miles.
Nice.
We can either do length or the name of the city. Okay. So what is the longest pedestrian-only shopping street in Europe? If you can tell me the city where it might be located in and or the
pedestrian
length.
shopping street. Is it Milan?
No.
I'm going to visit Milan. Go Team USA.
You've already said the city once before.
Amsterdam.
No.
Copenhagen.
That's why when you said Copenhagen, at first I was like, no, I hope she gets the next one. So yes, it's in Copenhagen, Denmark.
How many miles?
How many miles or kilometers? Make a guess. The longest
pedestrian
shopping street.
Shopping street.
10 kilometers.
1 point.
Okay.
1.
1.1.
1.1.
Kilometers or miles?
Kilometers.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not that long. I also thought that was interesting myself.
How many miles is that? sorry to be the American
good
word.
question. 0.7.
Well, to bring things back to go ahead. Sorry. No,
that was it.
To Latin America, because I feel like Latin America sometimes doesn't get the
Credit enough.
Yeah, the credit.
Yes.
So Buenos Aires has a couple of pedestrian-only shopping streets that are really cool.
This is why we call it terrible trivia, because maybe I'm wrong, actually. Interesting.
But I don't know. No, you said Europe.
Longest.
You said Europe,
I
right?
did say Europe, but we could have said maybe.
But I'm just going to, and I don't really know how long they are.
Yeah.
So we might have to Google that. But
Google that
they
later, but-
intersect, and I love that.
Buenos Aires.
Yeah, in Buenos Aires.
How long did you live in Buenos Aires? When you were
A couple of times in my life, so total about 3 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've also heard it's a beautiful,
Yes.
urbanist, pedestrian forward city.
Mexico City too.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
It has been adapting and changing. I feel like, leadership is showing there.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. With the mayors. We like mayors who show leadership.
Yeah.
And are brave.
Yes.
Make the right decision.
Brave. That's right.
Last question. Which European city? Again, European.
Yeah.
I'll
I'm
have
gonna have a question for you too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, please,
Yes,
please.
Okay.
Which European city banned cars from its city center and replaced it, this area with trees, bike lanes, and public spaces?
Paris.
Very good. Paris.
Yes.
Paris, France.
Paris. Another mayor with courage.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So, and that's like, I liked that question specifically because, like, we are hoping to make some movements with our parking situation, right? Like, can we transform our streets into being more pedestrian friendly? We tried that with COVID, right, for a little bit. And it was a beautiful experiment that I'm kind of hoping we can kind of revisit again.
Yeah.
All right, Alejandra, what are your questions?
My question is just one, because it's about, sort of making inclusive neighborhoods and all of that. Which city in Latin America has what they call care blocks or manzanas del cuidado?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I would say Mexico City.
No,
wait. Is it Bogota?
Oh, wait.
Yes, in Colombia. Yes, bravo.
Very good. So we have really enjoyed speaking to you, Alejandra, about inclusive neighborhoods, what that entails, giving pedestrians dignity, giving transit users dignity, and ensuring that people have access to multimodal forms of transportation. When we have the option to improve the land use of our neighborhoods, we say yes to that.
And we give people access to healthy neighborhoods, right?
Yes, exactly.
Not just push them to the margins.
No, by no means, yeah. Thank you so much for being here today. I've learned so much.
Sorry we were a little scatterbrained and silly today.
No, I love that. I had so much fun.
Yeah,
I want to do this again. Maybe I'll do something else.
Yeah, well, I'd love to. I actually really appreciate that idea of looking more at Latin America and maybe even African countries and cities as well, of how they've managed to have more inclusive, walkable neighborhoods. We do tend to be European centric, and I will say, I mean, I myself, with my mom and family living in Europe, maybe I tend to think that, but I'd like to be better at that. So I appreciate
that's just
that
very
push.
American, like North America, Western Europe kind of focus. So again, super love that.
Yeah, and I want to learn more about other places, like Southeast Asia.
Oh yeah, there are like so many examples of like cool urbanism, and I also love how like different places incorporate their culture into the way their city looks.
Yes,
You can like tell an American city for sure versus European versus South American.
Yeah.
So I just think that's super cool. Would love to learn more too.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you for tuning in to the 4th episode of the YIMBY Denver Podcast, where we say yes to people, yes to housing, and yes to real stories. Thank you.
Thank you.